Hi, I'm Ray with Arizonacontrols, and this is our Viper 3D printer. The topic for discussion today is how to print in two colors using only one STL file. The reason I developed this technique is that I'm not a big fan of Simplify 3D's dual color wizard. And to be quite honest, I don't think there's a slicer on the market that performs two color prints well. The first thing that you need to understand is that there are two different types of two color prints. There are vertical and horizontal. Let's take a look at the difference.
This is a vertical two-color print that requires only one STL file. This is a horizontal two-color print that is an inlay. In other words, the purple is inlaid in the green. And this type of two-color print requires two STL files.
The reason you can print the vertical model using only one STL file is because a 3D printer prints using layers and the colors are layered vertically. If the traffic cone were printed laying on its side, you would need two STL files to accomplish the same print. Currently, there are no software programs that support this technique, but all the software programs or slicers can produce G-code. The technique we're going to show you is accomplished by editing G-code. If you haven't watched our video on understanding G-code, you may want to stop here and go and watch it, because it's important that you understand how G-code works before you start modifying it. First, we're going to preview the traffic cone in Simplify 3D and make some simple calculations.
Okay, so here we are in Simplify 3D. Here's our traffic cone, one STL file, and we're going to preview this print and determine our layer changes for our colors. Click Prepare to Print, and here's our traffic cone. First thing we want to do is we want the base to be all one color. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how many layers comprise the base. We're in layer mode. I'm just going to back it up. Slider is faster. Okay. So the base is 8 layers. There's our first part of the cone where our color change is going to be, so we're going to change the first color at layer 9. So if we take 8 from 128 total layers, which you can see here, we get 120. We're going to do 4 color changes, so we're going to change colors approximately every 30 layers. So the first thing we're going to do is generate our G-code. We know our first color change comes at layer 9. Click Save Toolpaths to Disk. I'm going to save it in this folder where I have many other G-codes. And let's go take a look at the G-code. Okay, so here we are in Windows Explorer, and we're going to go ahead and open up our G-code file. You're going to left click once, right click, and open with Notepad. And here's our G-code. If you watched our earlier video, you'll know that all of these lines that are preceded by a semicolon are simply comments. They're settings in Simplify 3D and do nothing in this program. So we're going to scroll down to the actual G-code. And here we go. So the way this is set up now, it's set up to turn M140 sets the set point for the heated bed. M190 makes the machine wait until the heated bed reaches set point. We don't need the heated bed for this print. So we're going to turn off the heated bed, and we're going to make it so it does not wait for the heated bed. Now you're going to take this M104 command, which is a set point of 190 for tool 0, which is Extruder 1, and we're going to copy it. And then we're going to paste it right after this M109 command, which is wait to reach set point. And we're going to change this to tool 1. So what's going to happen is now the heated bed is going to remain off. Extruder 1's going to heat up. The machine's going to wait until it's heated up. Then it's going to start this homing sequence, and it's also going to turn on Extruder 2 and let it heat up while we're printing our first layers. This is a filament retraction, And we leave our extruders in a retracted state of 10 millimeters, so we don't need an additional retraction here. So we're just going to get rid of it. The first layer that we're going to be printing, here's tool 0. That turns on extruder 1, or it makes it the active tool, for the print, and then it's going to print the skirt first. And the first layer that we're going to make a color change on is layer 9. So we're going to go to Edit, Find, Layer 9. And here we are. So what we want to do is we want to retract tool 0 10 millimeters. And that's so that it doesn't ooze while it's not the active tool head. And here we're going to put a T1, which is going to make extruder 2 the active tool head, and that's our first color change. And this G1E0 doesn't look like it's a move, but it is. It's actually going to advance tool 1 to 0. And it's sitting at -10, which is a 10 millimeter retraction. So it's going to move it to the end of the nozzle. Our next print or color change is going to be at 39. We're going to retract extruder 2 10 millimeters. And we're going to make a color change to tool 0. Our next is going to be, we'll do 70. And we're going to retract once again and switch back to tool 1 or extruder 2. Whoops. And our last color change is going to be layer 100. And we're going to do something a little different at this layer. We're going to do our retraction like we did before. We're going to switch back to extruder 1 or tool 0. I like to do this with caps, so it matches everything. What we're going to do is we're going to use the M104 command with a set point of 0, and we're going to turn off tool 1 because we don't need it anymore. So that's going to set the set point for tool 1 at 0. And that's our last color change. And here's the end of our G-code, and we're going to do another 10 millimeter retraction so that we leave tool 0 or extruder 1 in a retracted state. Everything's going to shut off, and that's it. So now we're going to save, and we'll preview our print in Simplify 3D. And to do that, we're not going to open Simplify 3D and then try and open this file. We're just going to double click this file and it'll open in Simplify 3D automatically. And there you go. Traffic cone, 1 STL file, 2 color print. So let's print it and see what happens.
We recommend that when you print with a 3D printer, you always use an SD card. Wireless printing and tethered printing have some problems. With an SD card, you don't have to worry about your computer going to sleep and disconnecting while it's printing, or dropping the signal, which will also kill your print. First, let's make sure your extruders are set up properly.
So here we are back at Windows Explorer, and what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to where we have our G-code stored. And if you just loaded filament into your extruders, or if you're not sure that they're at a state of 10 millimeters retraction, I wrote this G-code so you can set up the extruders before you begin the print, and it will be available on my website. Or you can write it yourself, it's not that hard. We're going to open it with Notepad. Here's the G-code, M104, S190, tool 0 sets extruder 1 to a set point of 190. This one sets extruder 2 to 190. The M109s make the machine wait until they reach set point. G92E0 resets the origin of the extruder to 0. Tool T0 assigns extruder 1 to be the active tool head. G115 is going to extrude 15 millimeters of filament at a feed rate of 3,000 millimeters per minute. G92E0 resets the origin. We're going to pull back 10 millimeters and reset the origin once again, so tool 0 is ready to go. Then we switch to tool 1, which is extruder 2, extrude 15 millimeters of filament. Once again, reset the origin, pull back 10 millimeters, and reset the origin, so tool 1 is now ready to go. And if you don't do this, this is what you're going to see if your extruder is not set up properly. Okay, so this is layer 8, and it's going to do the first color change at layer 9. And what you're going to see is what happens if you don't have the extruder set up in the properly retracted state. Blech. So it's really important that you set up the extruders properly before you start this print so this doesn't happen. And this is what the prime extruder looks like when it executes. That's all it does. Pushes out some filament, retracts 10, and they're both set up and ready to go. So let's print. Okay, so we're back in Windows Explorer. What we're going to do is navigate to our modified G-code file, and I'm going to copy it to my SD card. Done. Okay, so we'll insert our SD card in the proper orientation. Only goes in one way. Card has been inserted, and we're going to print from SD and choose our file, and there we go. Now we're preheating extruder 1. And we're almost up to temp. I skipped ahead to spare you the wait. And what you're going to see is the machine will start to home, and we will turn on extruder 2 and start preheating it. And there we go. And machine goes to auto home. And here the machine is going to home itself and probe the four corners of the bed and begin the print. Our extruders are all set up. Everything should be good to go. Off to the races. And this is from a different angle, so you can see we're going to just print the first 2 layers, and then I'm going to skip forward instead of doing the time lapse. Try to keep these videos down to where they're manageable in length. And notice how slowly it's moving. It's actually set at 50% speed. I do that on the first layer so I get a good first layer, because it really sets the tone for the whole print. And on layer 2 it'll double in speed. Okay, now we're going to skip forward to layer 9. Be layer 8 and then a color change. And here is layer 8. And we're going to switch over to the yellow on Extruder 2. Minus the big blob. There we go. Little gap there, but I print inside out just for that reason. So the outside actually gets a good layer and it'll fill in. And we're going to skip forward to layer 39. And layer 39, we should be doing a color change shortly. And we got a slight blob there, but it's on the inside, so it shouldn't really cause a problem. And everything filled in nice. So now I believe we are going to layer 70. And we should be coming up on layer 70. We should perform another color change shortly. Looking good. And our last color change is going to be at layer 100. So we'll skip ahead to that. And we're coming up on layer 100. Last color change. And the Extruder 2 heater will shut off. And if you notice, it runs slower the higher up it gets, because the printing is getting smaller, and so the algorithm in Simplify 3D automatically slows it down, so it takes longer to print the last part. And now we'll go to our finished product. I actually printed 2 of them. I'll show you one that I did with a layer change at approximately every 10 layers, which, as you can see, is very easy to do. And here's our finished print. It looks like my extruder alignment might be off by just a smidge. And I also made a video on showing how to use a dual calibration test square to align those and actually change the settings in firmware to make them line up. But overall, it looks pretty good. And here are two cones that we printed, and this is one that I did a while back and changed the layer height about every 10 layers. And as you can see from the beginning when we edited the G-code, it's not that hard to do. And that's how you print two-color prints with one STL file.
And there you have it, a two-color print using only one STL file. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe below and toss us a like. We always welcome any comments. Please feel free to visit us at www.arizonacontrols.com. Have a great day and thanks for watching.